Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to Molten Modular. This is a little module from Shakmat. It's alarmingly called the Bishop's Miscellany Mk2, because there was a Mark 1. This is Mark 2. The old Bishop is up to some more tricks, I think. A wider smorgasbord of interesting processes and a CV manipulation. It records, it loops, it patterns, it generates, it regenerates. It manipulates and messes about with your stuff. It does it in ways that are both kind of complicated, but also when you get into the groove, it really flows. And it suddenly starts opening up and you go, oh, I could use it for this, or I could use it for that. I could use it in live performance, I could use it in the studio, I could pack it full of patterns and launch them all in a playlist, which is something we'll come on to, possibly. This module has kind of flummoxed me for a little while. And so have my lights, which keep flashing on and off, but we will struggle on through as best we can. But let me just relate a little bit more about how I feel about this product at the moment. As I say, I've had it for a while, and I kept sort of getting half in and then going, oh, I don't really understand, and then half in, and oh yeah, it took me a little bit of time just to kind of gel with it. Because I mean, the first Miscellany was quick and instant, and it just had a couple of controls. You leant into a record button, you did some jiggery pokery, and you were off. With this, stop it! With this, it's very much a similar idea, but they have built in layers of features. Features which you're not sure necessarily that you want, but by golly, there's some interesting stuff in there, and it brings up ideas and possibilities that you perhaps hadn't thought of before. It could be this little centerpiece of your rack that's sucking in sequences and bits and pieces and taking those kind of static rotations of notes and then messing with them and building upon them and throwing them about the place in interesting ways. I don't know that I'm going to survive this light shenanigans. What is it? Now, where was I? Oh yeah, I was running on about this here module. So it could, definitely be that place, but it also has this kind of secret back end idea where you can build up a playlist of sequences. You can save every time you generate a bunch of notes that you like. You can save those as another pattern, and then you can step through either manually or automatically through different patterns, and that gives it a whole other feel. My lights are now glimmering at me. They're evidently going to blow at any second. It's the sort of drama that I like to bring to a video. Anyway, by the by, I think I'll have to show you what it's about. I don't think I'll go into every single detail because not all of it really fills me with joy, but there's elements of it that absolutely do. So for instance, playing with this little, I've got like just two 16-step loops going around at the moment. One captured into either side because it's a 2-channel affair. You have 2 chances, if you like, to get something right, or you have 2 things that, I'm just going to smash this thing to bits! Or, is that better? I don't know if it is. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay. So you have 2 channels to delight in. Both identical, both doing the same thing, but allows you to sort of have 2 things playing against each other, which is very interesting. So as you look down from the top, just quickly, let me just do a very quick sort of jam, just on what I've got at the moment, just to give you a couple of examples. So I've captured essentially a couple of patterns in it, a couple of sequences into there, one on one side, one on the other. So channel 2 here. I can do interesting things. I can add vibrato. No, I can't. That's the wrong button. You can also very quickly completely kill what you were doing. Can I undo that? I can. See, I've only just discovered the undo button, but it's a beautiful thing, right? So what I was going to say is you can do things like this. You can add vibrato. See, that's quite nice. just throwing in a little bit of vibrato on something. But I could also like ratchet, which is nice, and I can paint that upon what's going on as it's cycling round if I want, or I can just leave it to run over the top. If I pop into channel 1 for a minute, I can do a bit of slide. Like that. Just nice little simple processes that you can throw on things. I mean, and while I'm there, I could push it into random note generation. To throw in kind of a fill, a change, a variation upon what I was doing. It's all following the same scale. It's all still there. Just at the kind of touch of a button, and I take that off again. I go back to my bass line. Isn't that nice? Isn't that kind of giddy? I'll do the same on the other channel. I just do it slightly differently. It's a wonderful thing. It's filled me up with such a sense of, oh yeah, you know, loveliness, generation, melody, stuff happening when I actually mean it to, stuff that's going on properly. Thinking, yeah, that's really interesting. So I think at this point, let's bring you in. Let's go through a few of the functions just so you can get a hang of it. And I want to show you different ways that you can throw stuff into it and generate stuff out of it. I think that will be helpful to hopefully give you some idea of what it's about. I haven't really gotten into the playlisting side of it quite so much, but we will have a fuddle around and see if we can work out exactly what that does. Because, I mean, basically you're saving patterns. And I'm very much the sort of person who just fusses around in the now, in the absolutely happening right at this moment. So I'm not a savey kind of person. I don't like build up a back catalogue of patterns to use. No, I like to have things now and instantly and use it and then let it go. That's just how wild and crazy and on the edge I am. Cue light flash. No, see, it doesn't do it on order. That's brilliant. So yeah, let's come on. So here we are then, Bishop's Miscellany. It's an interesting word, it's an interesting name for something. I mean, Shakmat do odd names. This is true. So I'm not going to dwell on the nature or importance of that. Let's just say that there's a lot of stuff going on, and maybe that's the point. Oh, I don't know. So at the top here you've got your CV gate inputs, 2 lots for 2 channels, and then CV gate outputs right underneath. Over here you've got some assignable CV inputs, so you can control stuff, like you control the intensity of something, the number of ratchets, the length of something. You can move playlists forwards and backwards and all sorts of interesting things like that. All of those are really deep possibilities that perhaps I'm not going to get too much into, because I just want to get into the guts of what I'm enjoying about this, rather than give you an exhaustive demo of every single feature. So what we have are the layout then. You have these 4 knobs. Well, there's not 4 knobs, there's 3 knobs and an encoder. So while you've got your 2 channels coming in, what this is set up as is not channel 1, channel 2, but generation over here and process over here. Because there's 2 things that you can do to your control voltage once it's in, or on its way in, or on its way out, depending on what you're doing. So the generation side will generate notes or mess with the notes that are currently there. The process side will apply a process to those notes or that control voltage. And you've got these buttons, push to make type buttons, where it happens as you hold the button. You hold both at once if you like. You can latch them, but more often than not, you're probably just going to be pressing them as you want the thing to happen. You've got these two record buttons down here. One records internally, so anything you do with the process, anything you do with generation can be recorded, which is actually stunningly useful because you don't actually need to plug anything in. You can just generate a sequence. Or you can record externally by plugging in any kind of CV and gate generating device and then record that input in, capture it, and then mess with it within the concepts and confines of the Bishop's Miscellany. Are you with me so far? Yeah, not really. Now, the biggest problem that this module has is that it's very screen focused, and it's getting through that is the path to success, the path to enjoyment of this module. To start with, it can be a little bit fiddly, and you're going, oh no, I don't, oh my god, oh no, oh my goodness. But over time, it opens itself up. There's also lots of shortcuts to getting around the place, which once you get the hang of those, it does make the whole thing a lot easier to cope with. So the basic idea then, what are we going to do? We're going to record something in. How can we record something in? Well, you need a CV and a gate. Let's start off with the most obvious, which is from a keyboard. That's in from here. So I've got a keyboard over here. I'm going to take pitch. Can you see that? See, there's a keyboard over there. You don't need to see me. I'm going to be slapping about on it. So this is pitch going into CV. Then I'm going to need something similar from the gate output to go into the gate input. So this is now feeding bishops. And I'm going to want an output. So I'm going to take this here, my low-key synthesizer. That's CV. No, that's it. No, that's wrong. That's gate. That's CV. Let's get this right, shall we? Let's get rid of that and put in something longer so it's not going to dangle everywhere. Can we get like less dangle, please? Good. Keep that nice and open so you can see what's going on. So I've got an input and I've got an output. I'm just going to erase channel 1, make sure there's nothing there. Now you can set up the default however you want it to be. You can have automatic steps, you can have up to 64 steps for recording, you can have time divisions and all sorts of things going on. You probably want to set a scale, which you can do in here. So on your main page, if we focus on that for the moment, this is our main page. This is our number of steps, our time division, the key that we're in, but really that's only about transpose. It doesn't really matter because you can pitch and tune your oscillators to anything. You've got octave up and down there, so this is semitone up and down. I can show you that. Boom, 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 boom. Transpose, octaves up and down, 3 in either directions. This is your scale. It's got lots and lots of scales built in, tons and tons of the things. And it's really good to do that because the quantization element is very powerful. So my favourite thing is pentatonic major, or sometimes minor. I like that very much. Then next down you've got this side, which is the generation or regeneration, which is currently set to random, M2, the second lot of randomization, which apparently is very musical. And on the process side, I've got slide. Now those two things aren't relevant at the moment because I'm going to record in from the keyboard. Now the key to success with this is clocking it. And being able to have something to play along to, essentially a metronome. So if I set this going for the moment, I've got a kick drum going on over here, which is also feeding the clock over here. So hopefully, if I play along to that beat, I'll be able to put something in which hits more or less right. So I've got 16 steps. I'm going to record externally from the keyboard over here. Why don't I just leave that in shot a little bit so you can see that. And what I'm going to do is hold this and press some notes is the plan. And it should, hopefully, start recording. Here we go. Kind of that easy, really. And now that's that's in there, that's saved. I can save that as a pattern and I can store that away and bring that out another time if I so wish. Let's try something else. See, that was easy, but you don't have to use a keyboard because, I mean, the keyboard provides you with the pitch and the gate at the same time, which is very useful, but you can use other things. So let's take those out of there for a minute and let's use something else. So for instance, I can use the output of my molten motion meter over here, which just generates voltage. I can turn a knob over here and use that as the pitch input. But then I'm also going to need something to gate it because I need two things at the same time. So I can use an output from my Digitac here as a gate, either manually or I can set up a pattern. I'm going to just try to do it manually for now. So let me take the output, oh, it's this one here, plug that into gate. So with a combination of these two things, I should be able to record directly in. So if I hold record, no, let's set it going first. So I've got something to play along to. So if I hold record, that's going to wipe whatever's there. And what I want to do is tap on this to put the gate in and wiggle this knob to put the tune in. Yeah, with me? Because it's scaled, because of the quantization I've put in, it's always going to pick out some kind of lovely tune. Try that again. I can do something similar with an LFO. So rather than hand twiggling something, I can stick in an LFO. I've got something going on here, give me a bit of a random out of the batumi over here. I've got it slightly attenuated by the motion meter over here so that the range isn't too high. But with that going in, all I've got to do is hit this a few times in order to pick up some notes. Bit low, so I'll transpose it up. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that it's really easy to get stuff in. There are multiple ways to do it. You can throw in notes from a keyboard, you can do it from an LFO, you can do it from a bit of hand generating, knob waggling, however you want to do it. You can pump a sequencer into here to record the sequence and then do something else with your sequencer, which is actually a really good idea. I've got like a rotational sequencer up the top there somewhere. I could put a sequence in that and then put it through here. Capture it, save it, change it, capture it, save it, capture it, save it. Do you see where you could go with these sorts of things? But then it can also generate by itself. So it has these different ways of generating. So let's have a go at that. We'll carry on using our Loki synth here. I'm just going to take those out of the top so I'm not accidentally recording them. So we've got a couple of different ways of doing that. Let's skip down to this part here, which is the generation side, and we can choose what it is we're going to use. So we can get to the page for this by pressing the nav and then this big button here, and we get directly to the generation page. And that gives us a little bit more information on what's going on, because you have not only the mode, but you've got these two knobs which affect what's going on. So very basically, if I set this running again, I'm just going to erase the channel, which is very easy to do. All I've got to do is press this and it will start randomly generating in the scale that I've chosen. Like that, which is brilliant and easy. So I'm just generating a sequence. I mean, that's another massive use of this, is that rather than trying to come up with a sequence at some point, you can just go. And at some point, if you like it, all you got to do is record it internally. And there it is. Really easy. Now you have these two knobs here. One of them changes chance and one of them changes the range. So that's kind of the range of notes it can be, and then the likelihood of it happening. So you're going to lessen the number of gates that happen as you pull that down. You get the idea, yeah? So there's a second one, which claims to be more musically something or other. I don't know. Then you have an arpeggiator. You can increase the range on how far it goes and what the pattern is. You got up, down, down, up. That's it, only 3. Definitely room for more expansion on the arpeggiation side, I think you could say. But it's again a great way of getting back into having something within the system. So I'm going to go up a couple of octaves, going to go back over here and then record the arpeggiation in. Go. Now, led to believe that having an arpeggiation in there actually makes it easier to understand what happens in the next modes, because now we're going to start moving into regeneration. Is that right? Oh, I don't know. There's this one called Path. What's that? It generates a musical phrase. Oh no, you got ornament and you got jump. So path is another generative thing. That's quite nice. So path is another form of pattern generation. Okay, this one, don't understand in the slightest. But you set a threshold, right? And then when this goes past the threshold, you get it starts to happen. I think it's something to do with, I don't know. It gives you an opportunity to pick out some notes, I guess. Next one is range. This one, I think, increases the range of the pattern by adding voltage to things. Then you've got speed, which I think skips notes. You can also go backwards. And then you've got rate, which does something similar. I can't remember. Then you've got slice, which takes a chunk of notes. So it's taken 4 steps, right, and I can shift that through the pattern. Get it? Nice, and then random slice, you don't choose where it is, it just takes it from different places. And delay shifts it a little bit. And also you can pitch it up or down. Alright, at this point I'm going to stop because I don't think you can see any of that. You don't really see what's going on with that. And I think part of the difficulty with this module is that it has this depth of functionality, which is interesting, but you have to work quite hard at really understanding what it is that it's doing, and can you find that useful. Now, there are elements in here that absolutely stand out as being fantastic. The random generation, whether you're using random 1, random 2, or the path mode, all 3 of those are capable of generating interesting melodies subject to the scale that you've chosen. Those are great. These other facilities, you know, the range, the speed, the rate, the slice, the knob, if you're really into what they do and want to work with that, then I'm sure they're fantastic. But just trying to step through them like this to show you what they do is I think a thankless task. You're not really going to grasp what it is that it's about. But suffice to say that once you have your sequence in here, you can then start shifting it about and varying it. And that's what we like in modular. And I don't think you're ever going to be sitting here going, step through this one, or should I do this, should I do this? No, you're going to have an idea about what it is that you want to do. And you're going to have that ready so that you can do that within the context of just pressing the button and having it happen. So I don't want to get bogged down in trying to explain all of these bits and pieces, other than to say that it has these interesting ways of generating and regenerating upon the sequence that you have in there. And that can be fun once you got the hang of it. Otherwise, it can be just quite baffling. So that's the generation side. Let's have a look at the process side. So let's do another recording so I can show you the process side of things. I'm going to use the keyboard again over here, because that's gate and pitch all in one go, and it's nice and simple. I'm going to change the scale now to semitones, just to keep it all together. Now, you can't hear anything going through to start with, but you can if you kind of stick it into record ready, which is where this is flashing. And now you've got a throughput from the keyboard. Which is quite nice. I'm also going to change it up to 32 notes. Now, there's a little bit of shenanigans required here, because I need to put it into record so I can start recording. But ideally I want to hold that, play with one hand and then release. But also you can hold this in so you're recording without having to hold that button, which is nice. But you also have to release that button, otherwise it's going to overwrite on the next loop. So I'm going to see if I make that work. So I'm going to hold that so it's running. I'm going to set things running. Now as this goes through, I'm going to try to get in on the next loop. Not too bad. Anyway, let's go over to the process side. Now the first thing you've got is slide. That's fairly self-explanatory. Then you've got gate length. Which is, again, is good for putting in a little bit of variation just every now and again. Ratchets. Pretty awesome in the right context. Vibrato, which is a really nice little effect. Gives it an instant cheese organ. Noise just stuffs noise into the signal. I don't know how useful that is. Now the nice thing is you can record this over the top of the current sequence. So if I want to put a bit of vibrato in there every now and again, all I've got to do is hit record internal. There it is. So I want to stick in a ratchet. Slide. Pretty awesome. Okay, great. I mean that's probably it. That's the most part. I mean one other really cool thing is that you can have just one input go into both channels. So you can record to whichever channel you like, which is great, and have two things go along side by side. And then I suppose we need to get into the playlist side of things. So I've created this extraordinary thing, have I not? So I should save it. How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? So let's go. Okay, let's go up to main, where we can step through all the different bits. We can edit the there's all sorts of sort of deep level editing you can do over shifting the sequence about and duplicating, reversing, copying, all those sorts of interesting deep level things that I don't really care about at this particular point. Okay, so memory, load, save. Sequence 1, sequence 2. Let's assume that this is what we need to do. So I need to save channel 1 as number 1. I think we should do that. Number 2. No, let's do it as number 1. Confirm. So that's now sequence number 1. How great is that? So if I come back out of here and set it going again, I wonder if I can undo it. I don't think so. So what I can do is record another sequence over the top and then save that alongside. See, that was interesting. It's still retaining the process. So the process I've put in is now different. I mean, the sequence I've put in is now different, but the process has been retained. But let's see if we can use that to our advantage. So if I go back up to the top. Oh, I've messed it about now. Let's see if we can reset it. Alright, I think I messed all that up. So what I think I'll do, I'm just going to erase channel 1. So it's no longer there, right? I'm going to go back to 32 notes. And I'm going to stick in a basic sequence. Maybe that's the better way to start it at this point. I want to stick in a note right at the beginning. I did it again. Okay, I'm hitting a slight sort of finger fudging problem where if I'm moving the steps or the division or some other factor, I'm kind of losing the coherence of what's going on. I'm losing the step point of what's going on. I wonder if that's recoverable. I can't answer that question. But obviously when you're dealing with an encoder and a screen, it's one of the things that can be a problem. Is having all of these functions and things available to you, trying to get to the thing you're after, accidentally hitting the thing you shouldn't, and that messing everything up. It would be interesting to find out whether that's undoable. There is an undo, but my understanding of that is that it just takes off the last process that you did. So we will see. Let's try this again. I've now tried this a lot, I feel. And let's see if I can ace a recording. One hand, remember? Alright, we'll take that. Now let's try not to move anything until I'm actually there. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to overwrite the other one that I had. So that's now in there as 1. Going to go back to here. We're going to add some processes to it. Yeah? I'm going to go back to the memory. I'm going to save that as number 2. We come back here. Go back to the memory, save that, it's number 3. So I now have 3 sequences to play with, which hopefully I can go between. And I can load them. So there's the original. There's the 2 with the slide. And there's the 3rd one. However, playlist is a better place to do this. So let's go to the playlist editor, which is here. Now in here, hopefully, if I can remember how. So for channel 1, I'm going to press and hold this. Turns white and allows me to put in what I want. So pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. So there's the original with nothing on. Straight to number 3. could do is I could go to here. I could assign that input to be on the playlist. Address 1, run 1. Address 1. So playlist, make it go to the next. Yeah. So if I put something in here which is going to clock it, like from here, I could then move them on automatically. Then I can run it. Go back to the middle. Then just at the tap of the button, you can move on. Quite nice. I've now got 32 steps being used in a chain of 3 different sequences. So I could go over to channel 2. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? Let's see if we can get something a little bit better than that. Do you see? So I can now be saving patterns that are going into the supercar up here, up there, and put those alongside and have those happen in the playlist in exactly the same way. So you can build up an entire song, an entire set with multiple playlists. There's something like 999 patterns per playlist, and there's a dozen different projects that you can have a dozen different playlists in. So there's an enormous amount of potential for this to be storing your entire set. Once you gel with the interface, once you've got the hang of how all these things go together. But what I'm really enjoying at this point is the fact that I can work on one sequence and mess around with that and play around with that, and the instantness you get with throwing in a bit of randomness or throwing in a ratchet and a slide, how nicely that fits in, and it gives you something to reach for and just put that in mid-set, mid-variation, mid-transition into something else that you want to do. That is what I really like. The depth and other things going on in here, yeah, I mean, you can certainly while away the hours adjusting and testing and trying and retrying and redoing, but I kind of feel that there's a lot of do-overs that are involved in this. Whereas the place that I found myself most comfortable is picking out little bits of melody, either from generation or from a knob and a trigger like this, that I found to be really fun in order just to find some kind of bass line I want to work with, some kind of melody line I want to work with, and then just playing and developing that as I go. I found that to be absolutely enthralling with this module. So there you are. Those are my thoughts on the Shakmat Bishop's Miscellany Mk2. A little bit of sort of finger fudgery going on. I think the menu is definitely lending itself an enormous amount of versatility while driving you slightly nuts purely because of its existence and having to fiddle your way around in there. It's an inevitability as soon as you move to a screen that you have this balance, this offset between functionality and usability. Can it actually be as usable as the original where you just did a thing and it was off? Can you restore that level of intuitive play to it? Yes, you can. As I say, once you've decided kind of what it is you want to play with. I think fiddling around with the engine and the screen is not that much fun, to be honest. But when you find a thing that you like and then you focus on that, you can start getting creative. You can start adding layers to things. You can have the slides and the ratchets in if you choose, or not. And you can be continuously saving new patterns to develop something into a set that you can use later. It definitely has that potential. But for a surface person like myself, who just likes to do what it is that's happening right there, then having something, I mean, I spent a lot of time messing around with just the random output from the Batumi going in the top and just picking out a couple of notes. That was great. That's a really nice and simple way to pull melodies out of a thing. If you don't want to play it on a keyboard, you don't want to program it in somewhere, you can just throw in a random source and just pick some notes out. Scale it properly, and you're away. Absolutely away. And if you're brave, courageous enough to move away from 16 steps, unlike me, move into something bigger, something more like a 64 step something or other, then it could start getting very interesting indeed. Let me take this output, which is going through there, goes through, so the CV input was here. Of course, you can have two different sources. That's the other thing. I'm using the one source into both channels because that seems simple to me. But you can use two sources, absolutely. Have a keyboard attached for one, have something random attached for the other. See, that's interesting. Maybe that's something I could have done or could do. Could I do that? I could do that. Could I do that? So I've got random here, and that's the gate. So let's put that into gate 2. Better just check the settings to see whether there's a thing that I've set up. Channel 2 input source, yeah, in 2. Yeah, you can also set the output of channel 1 as an input for channel 2 if you want to take something that you've made and then regenerate or reprocess that in the next channel, which is quite interesting also. So all I should need to do is set it running, and it should be groovy, man. It should just be groovy. Should we see if I can get something like that to happen? Lots of fun, lots of fun, lots of places you can go, and it takes you off on that kind of a journey into, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to undo that, then I'm going to try this again. It's an interesting place to develop stuff. It's an interesting place just to build with the idea of two channels of stuff going on, rather than focusing on one thing, working out how two things interact, changing and then doing something else. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a bit of a mind-opening thing because it's not been easy to get directly into, and in some ways its versatility means it's complex, and that puts various barriers in the way to really getting down to what it is that you want to do. But if you give it the time, if you focus on what you want to do, you will find it, and then it starts to flow, it starts to meld, it starts to pull out of itself really interesting places to play. And that's ultimately what we want. I mean, I've had a very exciting time recently in dealing with generative melodies in this, but also in the Sycamore, which is like a touring machine on speed. And both of these things are able to produce interesting melodies that take that sort of load off you to some degree. So you're not focused on the actual note selection, pattern creation. You can allow these things to kind of happen a little bit more organically, and then play with them and tease them and process them. And I think it's a really interesting space, particularly in these days where we talk a lot about what's authentic. You know, what is it that makes music, what that makes art. How much input do you need to have into that? Is it the interaction with the machine that's creating the art, or is it the machine itself, or is it your purely coming from your interaction? All of these things are interesting, but the Bishop's Miscellany Mk2 is one of those things that can sit within that idea, within that tension, and hold it and go, yeah, I can produce melodies, but I can also process yours. I can give you ideas, and I can take you along a journey with them as you expand and explore and push the music out through your system. It's really interesting times that we live in with a very fascinating module. So I hope that filling around was in some way helpful and representative of what it is that this can do. There's lots in here, lots that you could look into. And as I say, it can absolutely be the thing that runs your show. If 2 channels is what you need, maybe get 2 for 4 channels of stuff. Who knows? Yeah, so there you go. I hope that was helpful. In the meantime, go make some tunes.